Okay, I think it's time to start. So, first, before I start presenting any slides, if you checked Slack, um, if you checked Slack recently, you would know that I installed some cool lights and decorations for this lab, and our club has, I wouldn't really call it a tradition because it wasn't done that often, but we've been naming certain parts of the lab. And since that's gone now, I thought it would be fun to try and continue that. Because in our old lab, we had CAD City, which is just where a bunch of desktop computers were, where everyone did CAD when they were in the lab. I thought that would be fun to continue that. So since I have this little area set up in my garage, I figured that we should probably get some participation in with, just trying to keep like some aspects of the culture that we had in the old lab alive. So I was thinking there is a thread that I started on 2 days ago, and basically I'm just asking people like what we should call the area that I had set up here. And obviously you don't have to suggest something, but I would recommend all of you just go ahead and react to replies in that thread with a thumbs up emoji, whatever emoji you want, if you like that suggestion. And the one that gets the most upvotes will be the unofficial name of this area that we have set up. And I see that Caleb Nomi likes Fab City. I like that one too. Yeah, sure, I'll react to that. So, I guess that can be considered some sort of homework for you guys. It's not a big deal. You don't have to do it if you really don't want to, but it's just something that I think would be helpful. Fabulous fabrication. It's not a bad suggestion. You should put that in the Slack thread so that people can vote for it, Clement. All right. Got 9 people. I think it's time to start. All right. So today, it's not going to be a particularly long day. In fact, it may be only like 30 or 40 minutes today. And that is because I was planning on sharing. What is this doing? All right. This will work better. Yeah, anyways, I was planning on doing another 2 tools today. They're going to be woodworking tools, but I don't have access to one of them because of the lab closing down sooner than I thought it would have. So I didn't really get much of a chance to get the jigsaw. So I guess we'll just have to postpone that since I don't even have access to the tool. But on a happier note, I do have access to the miter saw, which is arguably a more widely used tool, one that's more important for you all to know how to use. So if we just do that one for today, then I think that should be fine. Yes, Ashton, the jigsaw is great. Plus, if it was like an important tool that I, for whatever reason, didn't have access to, I would be a little bit more. I would be a little bit more upset that I wouldn't be able to teach it right now, like if it was the lathe. But since it's a jigsaw, and it's like not a whole lot of people use it very often in the club, just waiting until we have access to the tools at the lab. It'll be fun if we just wait until then to for me to teach you guys that. So yeah, that's that. So it's just going to be the miter saw today, and I'll also release the instructional video summary for the miter saw sometime this week. I was actually pretty proud of myself because I was able to get the video of the drill press and the hand drill up before the lesson, but that's not going to happen this week, unfortunately. So anyways, let's get right to it. So a miter saw, this is what it looks like. I think a lot of you probably should have seen this type of thing before. I was able to get an image of the exact model before. No, this is not the exact model, but it's similar to that. So a miter saw, it's a woodworking tool. Again, as a reminder, we use wood exclusively to make wooden game pieces for the field with which we practice the robot on. Just use lumber and plywood to, make game pieces. And I'll be back in just a couple of seconds because I need a prop. So lumber, obviously it just means wood. This is what, this is just an example of stuff that we would cut with the miter saw. If you know what 2x4 is, it's just like length of wood, 2 inches by 4 inches, and it could be like 2, 4, 6, 8 feet long, but it's not actually 2 inches by 4 inches on the end. It's actually 1.5 by 3.5, and they just call it 2x4 because that's what it's initially cut to in the process of milling it out. So after all of that, it becomes a little bit shorter on each dimension. So it's a little bit counterintuitive why they call it a 2x4, but we cut a lot of 2x4s nonetheless. We cut a lot of plywood, which is wood, which, as you can see, the colors are a little bit different. There's just a bunch of thin layers of wood all glued together, which makes it a little bit stronger. And yeah, those are basically the two main types of wood that we cut. Miter saw, it can't cut like big sheets of plywood, like 2 feet by 2 feet, because the saw doesn't have that range. So we usually stick to boards like this, like this long, this wide, and stuff like that. And yeah, so basically it gets restricted to basic lumber. And the miter saw that we have at the lab is pretty different from the miter saw that I have in my garage. The miter saw at the lab has a light, which makes it that its circular blade casts a shadow onto the lumber, which makes it easy to tell where the saw is going to cut. My saw doesn't have that, but that'll be important to know the first time you guys start to use the miter saw in the lab. There's also a clamp that secures the wood at the lab, for the miter saw at the lab. Again, there's not that with mine, but that's okay. And also at the lab, there is a Z-axis extension, which basically means that the entire blade portion, it can extend to and from the place where it's originally stationed, and it allows you to cut wood that's slightly wider. For example, me and Ashton and John all played a part in building this basic shelving unit that had that required a bunch of 1x12 lumber to be cut with the miter saw, and it wasn't wide enough to be cut just like a simple pass. You had to unlock the extension and then pull it out, and then go down and then go back in with the cut. So that was fun to use, and it also ensured that everyone who was participating in there had mastered the miter saw by the end of the activity. And we still use that shelving unit today because it's awesome, and everyone who built that was amazing, and they built it really well. All right, now we need to talk about safety before we get into actually using the miter saw. So, of course, I want to see everyone in the chat this time. This is not optional. I want to see everyone with listing the number one priority what you need to have when you're using the miter saw. Okay. Nice. All right. Everyone gets an A plus today. Just kidding. You're not graded. All right. Yeah. Safety glasses, of course. So we just don't want sorry about that. There's a lot of sawdust and wood chips that get produced from the miter saw. So safety glasses are especially important because those things often irritate your eyes. So if you weren't wearing safety glasses, not only are you susceptible to like all the other dangers of not wearing safety glasses in the tool area of the lab, but your eyes will also probably get a little bit irritated, especially if you aren't wearing normal glasses either. So just something to keep in mind. Obviously, safety glasses, you're going to get annoyed at me hearing that by the end of the course, but I don't care. It's better for you all that you're safe. All right. So the miter saw is, especially when you start and the blade, you make the blade turn. If you're not in the fully upright position, which I'll show in a little bit, and you lower the blade before you start it, it has a tendency to jerk upwards, and this is it's kind of jarring. It takes everyone by surprise if they hadn't used the miter saw before, and that's not particularly unsafe. You're not going to get hurt if the miter saw jerks upward, but it's important to just make sure that no one gets like no one goes into panic mode when they do that for the first time. So it's important to just make sure that you start the blade at the top position before you like start turning it. And also, if it does buck, there is a chance that the wood can stick to the teeth of the miter saw blade, and so this would mean that it sort of pushes the lumber in the direction where the teeth are going, which is towards the saw and away from you. So again, it'll just push it really hard in the direction of the saw, which will mean that nothing's really going to happen. It just means that it might just crash into the back a little bit. It's not going to break anything. You're not going to be like in any particular danger, but there's of course a small chance that something can go wrong, that the wood could go haywire or something like that. So it's just nice to prevent bucking as much as possible. Not only can bucking be caused by starting it midway, but bucking can also be caused by cutting really aggressively into the wood, as in like if you put too much pressure down when you're cutting. So I would recommend just starting your cuts off slowly and then getting faster, which is something that you can really only learn by practice. So when we get back to the lab, I'll probably have some sort of woodworking project for you all to do with the miter saw. And just getting a feel for it is going to make you all masters at the miter saw because it's not a hard tool to learn. Also, this is something that we do in the pre-selection phase, like when we're picking out what wood to use, to make sure that all the lumber that we use is straight and pretty dry, because those are also factors that can make it more susceptible to bucking. And also making sure that the lumber isn't going to go anywhere. Also an important thing to note. One way that I found that you can keep, that you can make sure that the lumber is straight is that if you look down like the side, like I'm doing, it's really easy to see all the little, I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but it's easy to tell if the wood is warped or not, just looking down that angle. So that's a nice little tip for you all. And also, there is a small chance that if the blade does buck and the wood gets launched, and let's say you were cutting just a little bit off, like maybe a 1/16 of an inch off of the end of the lumber, there is a chance that that tiny little piece, if it was to buck, if the miter saw were to buck, there's a chance that little piece could go flying away from you in the direction that the bandsaw blade is going. And so if there's someone on the other side of the band, or not the bandsaw, there's someone on the other side of the miter saw, there's a chance that that little piece of wood could hit them. That's obviously not very safe. And also, there's a lot of sawdust that goes in that direction as well. But you're not going to want to have anyone on the other side of the miter saw in the first place. It's very important that no one is in that general direction for any type of saw or any type of power saw at all. This is just like a blanket statement, essentially. All right, so I'll have these video summaries up on YouTube in a few days, but for now, it is time for me to give a demonstration. So I'm just gonna sign in with my phone so that I can get a better angle, because it's hard for my laptop to get a good angle of any of the tools. Plus, for the miter saw, I have it outside of the garage because it gets really messy, obviously. All right. My clone is in. Now it's time for, actually, let's see. I can probably just pin this video, stop this share. That's better. All right. I hope you'll
just bear with me really quick while I try to
get the correct
angle on this.
All right. I want you guys to tell me if that's going to be okay. That's an all right angle for you all to see. All right, cool. All right, so this is my miter saw. Oh my goodness. Maybe I can just mute this. That should be better. Right, the echo's gone, right? All right, cool. So with the miter saw, this is what it looks like basically. You can see that as I go down, oh my goodness, the echo's still there. Wait, that might just be for me. Never mind, I'll just ignore it. So anyways, see this guard, it has this trigger right here, and it has this bed that it sits on. I should probably show you guys this first before anything. This is the trigger to turn it on. If I do that, it'll make a loud noise, so I only want to do that a little bit today. And for this tool specifically, this pin unlocks it, which makes it so that it can go up and down. Every time people leave the lab, I want the miter saw to be locked in place like this, so that there's as little of this sharp blade exposed as possible. And it's intuitive to use for the pin. There's also going to be a similar pin that locks the extending function of our lab's miter saw. Yeah, it's basically hard to miss. You'll know it when you see it. And this, yeah, there's not a whole lot else to really go over, except, oh, no. I was about to show you guys how this rotates from side to side, but it requires some bolt adjustment. So I'm not going to do that right now because I don't I don't have the right size wrench at the moment. But I will tell you guys that on the lab miter saw, I'm pretty sure you're getting the idea that the miter saw at the lab is a lot better than this one. But there's a lever right here that you, when you activate the lever, it makes it super easy. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sick. Never mind. This lever makes it super easy to control the rotation of this saw. So, for example, if you don't, no, Ashton, it was just a joke. Don't worry. So obviously, this is only going to make a 90-degree cut. But if you want to make like a 45-degree cut, like over here, then using that lever and setting it to 45 degrees because it has an indicator will make it so that it's just really easy to make whatever degree cut that you want. And it's going to be, yeah, it's just another function that we use a lot and it's super important to consider. Yeah. There is, since this is like a really small piece of lumber, I can't put a clamp down right here. Plus, I don't want to cut up too much of my strap wood supply. So I just got to make sure I remember to keep in mind the hand rule. Again, 1 hand distance away. So I'm putting my fingers right over here, far away from where the blade could ever reach. But I still need my hand to be here at all to secure the wood. There is no clamp function on this miter saw. There is on the labs, again. And what that looks like is just like, it's a pin that just secures the wood right here. So you don't need your other hand to stay right here at all. I find that for most people, when they're first learning the miter saw, they're a bit hesitant to touch the wood when it's being cut, but it's okay. In fact, I'm pretty glad that a lot of people are a little bit apprehensive to touch the work as it is being sawed down, but because that means that I've at least been doing my job a little bit in terms of keeping you guys safe. But it's fine. Just make sure that your hand doesn't get too close to the wood, and it should be just a smooth process, a smooth cut. And again, I want to stress that, let's say if I had to make like a 6-inch cut right here, I would first I would just mark with a Sharpie where 6 inches is, like just a marquee and a Sharpie. I could bind marker and Sharpie, but just get a Sharpie and a tape measure, mark out 6 inches or whatever measurement I want, and then I would line it up with the saw blade. And so then you would think that I would just press the trigger, right? But no, I would have to go all the way up and then pull the trigger and then go down at a constant pace to prevent bucking. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of what bucking looks like without any stock. Here's what it looks like. There's it's like I don't think it's centripetal force, but it's like because of the rotation of the blade, if I'm not all the way up, if I'm like part way down, it just wants to jerk, and I have to resist that force from the blade. So if you start up and then go down, you just have a lot more control of what the blade does and where it goes. All right, so that's everything, and I'm going to start making some sort of cut now. In fact, I think it would be a good idea to start showing you guys what the marking process would be like for a piece of wood, because I want you guys to get familiarized with that, and I think this is a good place to start. So I'll just get a Sharpie and a tape measure real quick. All right, so let's say I'm going to go back to the 6-inch part. Let's say we're building a game piece, and the game piece's name is game piece number 3. And I'm making a part for game piece number 3. And in the instruction manual for creating the game piece, this 6-inch part for game piece number 3 happens to be part number 17. So I marked off 6 inches right here. So that means that this side is the side that we want to save, and this side is going to be the cutoff. So if it helps you, especially for cutting something in half, and the other half is going to be the cutoff, it's helpful to just write an X where the cutoff is, and that way you know what side you want to save. And it seems like it's like, obviously now it's like, okay, you're going to get 2 pieces out of this, right? Silly Caleb. But it helps a lot when you're having to keep track of like, you know, dozens or like 100 different parts. And it just helps to make sure that you can sort out easily between the cutoff wood and the wood that you're actually going to use. And after I'm done, what I'm going to do is, I'm doing it before I cut it, but I don't really care since this is just a demonstration. I'm going to put 03-17 right here, signify that it is for game piece number 3 and part 17. And so then what we can do after that is that we can get all the pieces of wood, sort them by this first number, and get them all together. And then we can order them by this second number, 1 to, you know, wherever it ends. And then it'll be super easy to get the instructions and then assemble it from there, because we don't have to do any guesswork of what dimensions align with which parts and how many different ones we missed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the part. I'm going to keep my fingers out of the way. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to make the cut. And there we go. It's a very simple tool to use. But at the same time, it's quite satisfying. And so, since this is just a demonstration, I didn't care too much about the accuracy of the length. It's pretty much 6 inches, which is fine. That's what I wanted. That's what I was going for. But I'm not sure if I told you guys this, but I want you all, especially with woodworking, to measure twice and cut once, which means that after you mark the 6 inches, I want you to make sure that that mark is exactly 6 inches away, and that after you cut, you measure again a third time and make sure that that part is exactly 6 inches before putting it wherever it needs to go for organization. And if everyone follows those rules and keeps that system, then the process of fabricating anything, but game pieces specifically, that'll make the process much more streamlined and a lot easier, and also a lot faster. So, all right, that's all I wanted to go over today. I will make my phone return to its rightful place. All right. So, again, I said that this is going to be a pretty quick lesson because I was also planning to go over the jigsaw, but it's okay learning this. You already learned a whole tool. So, I don't really have much else to say. Actually, Ashton or John or Caleb, if any of you had like anything else to add to the miter saw. I know that Ashton was pretty passionate about the jigsaw, so I wonder if you have anything else to add about the miter saw.
Clean up after yourself because it makes quite a lot of dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is quite a messy tool.
It is yeah, it produces quite a substantial amount of sawdust.
Wait, in fact, if I just do this really quick, I can show you guys really quick how to clean up sawdust. All right. So first off, we have these brushes everywhere in the lab. We have like 10 of these. And so you see that between the use of me and my dad, we've collected a bit of sawdust up in here. So what you want to do is you just get every nook and cranny, and you just see this place is sawdust free now. I mean, pretty intuitive, how to clean up sawdust. But after you get it out of those hard to reach spots with the brush, then you can just put it on the lab floor, and after that, you can just easily pick it up with a broom. So that's part of the thing that I want you guys to prioritize cleaning up every day. 15 days, not 15 days, 15 minutes before you leave.
So, yes, the echoes turned.
Okay, I have no idea why it left. Whatever. I guess that means that the echo's gone. Whatever. So that's all I had for today. I want to thank you all for coming. If no one has any questions, you're free to leave. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for coming. Yes, of course, Fontana. All right, thanks, Clement. All right, I'm gonna leave too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have
Yeah,
a good
sure.
day.
You too.
Bye.